Call the Honourable Leanne Dalzell.
Mr Speaker, I want to begin by acknowledging that families in Christchurch have been through an emotional rollercoaster since they struggled to get to the schools where their children were on February the 22nd last year. And I want to acknowledge all of those teachers and principals who stood alongside those children until their parents could make it there, because they guaranteed the children one thing for those parents, that they would be kept safe and sound until they arrived at the school. And of course it is the memory of that care, and indeed the memory of how well the schools have provided both a stable environment and also normality, a sense of normality for these children, that has left the communities with a sense of absolute obligation and respect for the teachers and for the schools in terms of how they have supported their communities. And that is why these communities are absolutely despairing of the Minister's shake-up in education. We've already debated in the House how this was handled by the government. It was appalling. There could be no worse way of actually diminishing both the respect for the schools and the situation in Christchurch, with people suffering from the ongoing effects of aftershocks. Even minor ones, I think, last night woke people up again, and it's just a constant reminder of the difficulties that people face. And then we ended up with this suddenly announced, with the impact on principals of Board of Trustees brought to a meeting, no idea what was about to be announced and the way they were treated, and how their schools found out and then how their communities found out. It really has been the worst handled of all of the earthquake-related announcements that this government has been responsible for, and they have been responsible for some pretty serious ones. But this is not how one empowers communities after a disempowering event. And Sir Peter Gluckman, who writes as the Chief Science Advisor for the Prime Minister, says that this is not the way that one ensures that communities can recover from the consequences of the disaster. We've got a man-made disaster on our own hands now as a result of the way the government is treating the response to education. But I do want to acknowledge that the Minister, according to the press this morning, has written to the 38 schools that are now earmarked for closure or merger to say at last that she will want to talk to them, that she would like to hear from them, and that she will listen to them. And I want to hold her to that account, and I will be holding her to that account, as will every member of the opposition in this House, because it is absolutely imperative that she restores the damage that she has done by fixing the problem. Those schools that have asked for an extension of time must be granted an extension of time. It shouldn't be a question of whether they can persuade her or not, or that she will just consider it, as she said in the House yesterday. She must agree to the extension of time. It is simply untenable that schools and their communities that struggle under the circumstances in Christchurch have got term 4 to respond to the proposal to close or merge their school. That's the 7th of December this year. That simply isn't good enough. The schools that I've talked to have asked for an extension to the end of term 1, which is April 2013. That says to me that the schools are reasonable. They are willing and reasonable to listen to the Minister's call for change. In fact, they want to see change. They know things can't go back the way they were. But when I read in the paper that at the same time she said she understood how difficult the changes were for Christchurch, but given the extent of the damage and the population movement, the sector simply cannot be returned to how it was, I just want to say that that adds insult to injury. Every single school is willing to have the conversation about the future of education. They have shown willing in terms of the care and support that they've given those children over difficult circumstances. They want to build back better. They want to make sure that they're responsive to the needs of their community. That's why they all engaged openly in the conversation around the Education Recovery Plan, and the previous Minister of Education made it absolutely clear that that process wasn't about places or services. It was about the principles of what education could provide and would provide for the future of Christchurch, and yet we've suddenly had it turned into specific places and services. We've had specific options determined by the Minister, and I want to say that there is no way on earth that a Labour government would allow that to happen if we had...
Members, the time for this debate has expired. Call on Government Order of the Day number 1.